Today we're going to go over message 5, part 5 of the series of 8. Week 1 was, the whole series is the Lord who fights for you, right? Week 1 is the battle belongs to the Lord. Week 2 was the God who goes before you. Week 3, the God who stands behind. Week 4, the God who fights within. And now we're up to week 5, and that is the God who arms you for battle. And, you know, most people, when they see that, will go, oh, we're going to get armed. Now, I have gone over, you can find it out there. I don't know which one it is, but you can look for it. I have gone on over the whole armor of God. And you can go in that in detail, but we're going to tap into it just a little bit. We're not exactly going to go through it as in depth as I did the other one, but we will be. So we're going to go over the God who arms you for battle. Again, it's not going to be as in depth as we did with the armor of God. So if you want to do the armor of God, again, it's out there. It's already up and posted. So let's get this straight a little bit. The God who arms you for battle. There comes a point in everyone's life who believes in Jesus and believes in the gospel or the scripture, where you come to a knowing that God doesn't just fight for you anymore. He doesn't just fight around you, go before you, be within. He prepares you to stand. Now, this is something that I definitely, did I say definitely? Definitely want to get through to peeps, is that when you're standing, it's not what you believe it is. Standing doesn't mean that you sit and stand and fight, because they always say Custer's last stand. A lot of the word stand goes to battles, which is not what this is about. So the word stand, take your last stand. It's not your last stand. It's not that at all. Has nothing to do with battle. It's the Lord arms you with what you need. He equips you to strengthen you in a way that's going to allow you to face what's coming with clarity, right? You're going to see it clearly, with truth and with confidence that you can. It doesn't come from the confidence that you're not going to get it from your personality or experiences, but from the one who lives within you. Because here's the thing. When we talk about clarity, people have different definitions of clarity. But the number one thing about clarity is, if you're running around with a program that says all females are stupid, right? And let's say you have all men are stupid idiots, right? You've got this program in it from something that happened in your past that you've accepted. Maybe your wife, your husband, your ex-husband, your ex-wife did something really stupid and really idiotic. And now you put that in there and you generalized it. So now the divine is bringing you, and there's something, let's say there's a guy or a woman coming towards you with something that you need to know, that what I call the dance of the divine, right? That Jesus has brought these people into your life so that you can get something, that this was the quickest way for him to deliver it to you because you're not hearing. And if you have that program, so somebody comes up to you, let's say a guy comes up to you, a wife comes up to you, says, you know what? The Bible says this, this, and this, or Jesus says this and this, and you poo-poo them. That's because you're carrying a program that says men are stupid, women are stupid, whichever it is, and I'm not going to believe anything that comes out of their mouths. So that's what he means when he talks about clarity. You're going to hear it in divine truth, not your truth. And that's why I've said for ages, there's only one, the only truth in this entire world is that the truth is always changing. Because it does. What was your truth 3 months ago isn't your truth again. What was a lot of people's truth, we'll just make it very plain and simple about getting the jibber jabber for COVID. Now they're like, why did I do it? But it was their truth back then that was going to save them. And now they may be seeing it killing some of their loved ones, and they're going, stupid, right? So you get, when we talk about clarity, we're not talking about our clarity, because we don't have clarity. What we get filters through our programs. And our programs come from where? The satanic world. So, and everything we get then is filtered through our programming, through the satanic world. Isn't that just wonderful? So what Jesus is going to do, what the living God is going to do, equip you with what you need in a way that allows you to face the truth with clarity, the divine clarity, not your clarity. You know, I'm just going to throw things out there. Some of us all thought that the elections were perfect. That was our clarity. We go to vote, our candidate gets in. We're finding out, well, the elections may not be perfect. My clarity was that it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Your clarity was that it was. And now we're finding out, that's not clarity. That's an untruth. And we might find out 3 years from now that even that was altered. So that's why you need to know Jesus' clarity, the Christ clarity, the divine clarity. Okay? Where was I? So Paul understood all this. Paul really had a knowing for this. Look at all he went through. I remember. I had to ask. So remember, Paul had gone through an awful lot. And he comprehended this because look what he went through. He went through all kinds of storms. He was thrown in prison. He was betrayed, spiritual warfare, and and everything else he went through. That kind of pressure, that kind of crap coming into someone's life could have easily destroyed most people, but it didn't. And when he writes to Ephesians, he doesn't tell them to impress them that he went through all this stuff or to make them say, hey, we're strong like Paul, we can do it. That's not what he's doing here. He showed who he relied on that got him through all that and whose wisdom he relied on. There's something far more powerful than him, is what he's saying. So let's go to Ephesians 6:10. Ephesians 6:10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Be strong in the Lord and his power of his might. Paul is saying your strength is not the source of anything. Jesus is your courage. Jesus is your strength. It's your foundation. His might is your might, your stability. It's his presence is all of that. And then Paul begins to, we're going to keep going, stay with Ephesians. We're going to go 6:10 and read each one line by line. Paul begins to unfold something more like poetic, if you will, not symbolic imagery, but a real spiritual reality, the armor of God. And like I said earlier, I did a whole thing on the armor of God, but we're going to tap on it here also. Before he describes a single piece of armor, okay, this is what he says. He gives a reason for it. Ephesians 6:11, right? Put on the whole armor of God that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. He doesn't say so that you can fight, or you can fight harder, or that you can be more aggressive, or go to war, any of that. What does he say? He says stand in the arm, stand, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So a lot of people, this is what I was saying earlier, what does stand really mean? It's endurance. It's spiritual strength. Standing is what the enemy hates more than anything. Because when you stand, you refuse to be moved by what he brings. When you stand under Jesus, with Jesus, as the Christ light, with the living God. Satan can't touch you. And he hates this because he knows you can't be moved. But if you don't use the divine's power, strength, the clarity, the programs come in. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You go into fear. And the second you go into fear, Satan wins. That's why you have to stand with Jesus. Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. He's reminding us that the real battle is not with people. It's with our personality, our belief systems. It's not with the circumstances of whether, they're bombing Iran or any of that. It's not the circumstances. It's not the things we can see. The real battle is spiritual. And because the battle is spiritual, the strength must be what? Spiritual. The armor must be spiritual. The preparation must be spiritual. And as spiritual, I mean, remember, Michael, Raphael, you all, that means of God. That's why all the archangels end in A-E-L-U, A-L-I-E-L, you all, it means of God. Spiritual means the Spirit of God, the living God. Let's get this straight. So the preparation must be in the Spirit of the living God. The real battle. Everything. The strength must be the Spirit of the living God. And then Paul says in Ephesians 6:13, wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. There's something really, really steady and strong in that line. Paul isn't calling them to panic. He isn't calling them to scramble or go, do anything. Grab your weapons, do it. No, he's not calling them to do any of that. He's calling them to stand, to remain, to hold their ground, to stay exactly rooted where they are in the Christ light, in the Spirit of the living God, to be spiritual when, in my language, the shit hits the fan, or the pressure rises, or it gets chaotic. That ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. There it is, right? That's what he's saying, to stand. And that's where the armor begins to unfold. Not as a list of things or a winning formula type of thing, but as a visualization of how God strengthens you. How God strengthens the inner world so that the outer world doesn't shake you, doesn't mess with you. So Ephesians 6:14, Paul starts this truth with, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. Truth isn't just information. Truth is clarity, like we discussed 5 seconds ago. Truth is what keeps you from being pulled in every direction by emotion. Because, let's say, Satan appears before you. Most of us would probably pee our pants and go into fear because we're afraid. But the truth is, we don't have the clarity, the faith strong enough yet to know that he can't touch us. And that we're here to represent the living God, to say, not today, turkey, not any day. That's divine truth. The truth you had prior to that was, oh my God, I'm going to get my butt kicked here. That's not real truth. That's the same as the whole truther community in the whole world, and what Charlie was just talking about, right? Do we really know the truth of what's going on there? Heck no. But is that our truth? No. Our truth is nothing can touch us because we are the Spirit of the living God. We use the strength, the power, the knowledge, the wisdom, the love of the living God, the Christ light. So there's a difference in truth. He isn't calling them, he is calling them, he's calling them when it says here, and having done all, to stand. He's calling them to stand, to remain, to hold their ground, no matter what. And what does the holding their ground mean? It's to hold who you are. Right? And then we go back to 6:14, which we just finished. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about the truth. When the real truth settles inside you, when your real truth knows who you are, you stop living from reaction. You stop freaking out. It's not the knee-jerk thing anymore. You stop being confused and jumping from truth to truth, from voice to voice to voice. You stop being shaped by whatever is the loudest at the moment, which is right now what? The Iranian war. Truth becomes the place where your inner world stays steady in the wisdom and the knowing of who you are, who the Christ light is, and who the living God is, and who Jesus is. And then Paul goes right into speaking about righteousness and having on the breastplate of righteousness. Righteousness is not about perfection. It's about protection. It guards what? The heart. The place where motives form, where desires come from, where wounds get pushed into, and where they settle. When righteousness covers your heart, the breastplate of righteousness, shame loses its grip. Unworthiness loses its hold on you. Condemnation loses its voice on you. All the old patterns, the old programs, they all lose their hold on you. You begin to live from a place that is clean, not because you earned it, but because Jesus gave it to you. And that's the key thing here. You're not doing anything to earn this. What you're doing is remembering who you are, where you come from, and merging and being one with the Christ light. Then Paul speaks of peace. Ephesians 6:15. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Peace is what gives you a strong foundation. Peace is what keeps you from shifting into fear when life comes at you. And peace is what moves you forward, even when everything is coming at you to push you backwards. And when everything's trying to throw you off balance and everything's trying to change, it's the absence of conflict. And what peace is knowing it's the presence of Jesus, the Spirit of the living God, in the middle of everything. And if you could really believe for a minute that Jesus is standing with you, and he goes, don't worry about it, I got you. Would you even freak out? Heck no. And when that peace settles inside of you, you start to walk differently. You don't have that reactive, first thing, so many people about everything. I mean, I still do it about some things that really push my buttons, but so many people about everything they hear, they jump into reactive mode. Oh my God. And they jump into something horrible is going to happen. You know them. The ones, oh, I'm sorry, the panicky ones. So when that piece of Jesus and the Christ light really, really hits inside your heart and you truly get it, you carry yourself completely different. And then Paul speaks of faith, 6:16, Ephesians 6:16. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. I like where it says, people don't even say that, they just know what that means. But if you look at the words, quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. When you quench your thirst, right? Oh, I'm thirsty. I quenched my thirst. You were longing for something. You needed something. Water, right? So it says, quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. People don't comprehend, a lot of them, what this really means. The shield of faith isn't just blocking them. That's why it's not about the physical things. It's a spiritual, it's the Spirit of God that he's talking about here. Taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. The fiery darts of the wicked are looking for something from you. They're looking you to join their team. You know the old expression here in America, Uncle Sam wants you. Satan wants you. That's what the fiery darts are doing. They're coming after you. They're aimed at you. They need something. Because what does he say here? Quench. They need something. They need to push your programs and have you react. Because the moment you react, you take yourself out of the living God's power. And once you lose your peace, you're out of living God's power, right? You're going into Satan's world. Quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So this is taking the shield of faith. It's not a feeling. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's the shield that rises inside of you when your enemy throws thoughts, accusations, fears, or lies. When the darts try to bring all that up, faith doesn't stop the enemy from throwing all this. It stops them from landing, from attacking you. It stops them from piercing you. It stops them from taking root within you. Because it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse in this world, just as it says in scriptures. And without that shield, you're not going to be able to quench all those fiery darts. And then Ephesians 6:17, and take the helmet of salvation. We're going to go into something about this. This is very interesting in another passage. Salvation guards the mind. It reminds you, the helmet is up here, right? It reminds you who you belong to. Remember, the heart is the connection with God. The mind is the connection. It's what the heart should be speaking through the mind and the mouth, but it's now become, most people, this controls everything, where this should be the controlling. But this does now. This is the third level of earth stuff. It reminds you what Jesus has already done. That your identity of who you are is settled within you, and there's no question. Your future is secure, and you're standing firm in the Christ light with Lord Jesus. When salvation, and take the helmet of salvation, when salvation covers you, covers your mind, Satan loses the ability to define you ever again. He can't take control of you anymore. And then Paul speaks of the word and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. The word is not just something you read. It's not just the Bible. Where's my Bible? Oh. The word is not just this. Nope. It's something that strengthens you, cuts through confusion, cuts through all BS in plain English. It exposes lies. It brings clarity. What is clarity again? Spiritual clarity, the truth, the real truth, divine truth, where everything feels chaotic and a mess. It gives you language for the so-called battle. It gives you truth to stand on when everything else falls apart. And then Paul ends the prayer. And not the prayer. Paul ends with Ephesians 6:18 with saying, ends with prayer saying, pray always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. Prayer is not the last piece of the armor. That's why this is not a list. It's what activates everything else. Prayer is another word for the Christ-like, for Christ. Prayer keeps your inner world open to Jesus. It keeps your heart soft. It keeps your mind clear. It keeps your spirit wide awake and ready to go. And it keeps you connected to the one who strengthens you, the living God. This is the God who arms you for battle. The living God, Jesus, who doesn't leave you exposed, gives you everything you need when you need it, completely equipped. This is the living God, Jesus, that doesn't send you into anything unprepared. This is exactly what Charlie and I were just speaking about. It's got, and I was just saying, this is going to go on for a lot longer because people aren't prepared. And he won't put you into something you're not prepared for. He's not going to turn mankind with his children unprepared over to Satan. Just not going to do it. So let's go to some more passages, which I think are really cool, that go over the same, that speak of the same thing. Okay, so let's go over Ephesians 6:12-18 real fast. So that was, what did Paul say? That the battle is spiritual. It's with the Spirit of God. The enemy is strategic. The armor is the living God's, not ours. And the whole goal is to stand in who you are in the Spirit of the living God. So let's go to 1 Corinthians 16:13. 1 Corinthians 16:13. Watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quit you like men, be strong. This is Paul talking to the church, to Corinthians. So what's he saying? This is like Paul gives a rapid fire command here. Watch, stand fast in faith, quit you like men, and be strong. So what's he saying? Watch. Stay spiritually awake and alert. I'm telling you right now, watch. Stand fast in the faith. Hold your ground. Don't be moved by fear, pressure, confusion, chaos. Hold your ground in the faith of who you are. Quit you like men. That means act with courage and maturity. It doesn't mean to react like a 2-year-old and have a tantrum. Face what's in front of you with strength from the living God. Jesus, be strong. Draw strength from God, not from your own reserves, because your reserves are dwindling. You don't have the power of the living God. This 1 Corinthians 16:13, this is a battle posture verse. Short, sharp, and stabilizing you in the Word of God. So this is the kind of verse, I like all the verses really, but this is another one of my favorites. It's the kind of verse that meets you in the season where you're carrying all this crap. You're facing conflict, you're needing clarity, there's confusion in your life. It reminds you to stand, to stay awake, stay strong in the Christ light, in Jesus, in the living God. That's exactly what he was talking about in the other ones. And then let's go to Romans 13:12. This is the armor as your identity. You all know I like Romans. So Romans 13:12. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. This is how Romans 13:12 connects to Ephesians 6:11. Both these passages speak the same language of spiritual readiness, but from different angles. They heard the same thing. But just like you can hear something and I can hear something from someone and we both see it differently. So here are the shared themes. A call to wakefulness. The day is at hand, and stand against the wiles of the devil. So the Romans 13:12 says the day is at hand. Ephesians says stand against the wiles of the devil. Same thing. Here's to put on your spiritual clothing, right? Romans says put on the armor of light. Ephesians says put on the armor of God. Is the living God not light? Same thing. And then a call to separation, to separate from all this. Romans says, cast off the works of darkness. Ephesians, having done all, stand. The difference is on the emphasis. And most people never catch this. This is so important. Romans 13:12 focuses on identity and lifestyle, stepping out of darkness and into the light. Ephesians 6:11 focuses on warfare and protection, standing firm against spiritual opposition. So together, the two of them, they form a perfectly complete picture. Romans tells you who you are and what to wear. And Ephesians tells you why you need it and how to use it. This is why you can't just pull little sections from the Bible. That's why it says, have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. So I'm going to say that again because it's really, really important. Romans tells you who you are and what you wear. Ephesians tells you why you need it and how to use it. And all of this fits in to today's message, the God who arms you for battle. Romans 13:12 is a perfect cross-reference because it shows that the armor isn't just defensive gear, it's the identity, the light, it's who you are. And transformation from darkness to who you are, leaving the third level plane of satanic shit and stepping into the light, your identity as the Spirit of the living God in Christ. It's not only about resisting the enemy, It's about stepping into the day and calling and the clarity that the living God gives you. So before we go there, I forgot one thing. And remember this. Somebody asked me this, and that's why I want to add this. Jesus, the living God, the Christ light, doesn't arm you because you're in danger. Jesus arms you because the day is at hand. Not because you're in danger. That's the difference. Remember, the armor isn't just protection, it's light, identity, and readiness. You don't just put on the armor, you cast off darkness. So that's the real clue about putting on the armor. You're casting off darkness because you're putting on light. Isaiah 59:17. Isaiah 59. For he puts on the righteousness as a breastplate and a helmet of salvation upon his head. I really like this one. This is the Old Testament. The Old Testament, okay? And it's the root of the armor imagery. It's where it comes from. The armor is God's own armor because he's talking about God. God putting on the righteousness. He's not happy with what's going on, right? So he's putting on the righteousness as a breastplate and the helmet of salvation upon his head. God wore it before and gave it to us. When you put it on, you're wearing his strength. So how is this connected to Paul's? Paul borrowed the imagery from Isaiah. Okay, Isaiah actually shows God himself, the living God, wearing the armor. Ephesians shows God giving that same armor that the living God already wore. He's giving it to his people. So in Isaiah, God, let's look at this, how this works with Ephesians and Isaiah. God responds to injustice, right? Isaiah, truth faileth. Right? Truth failed. Ephesians, stand against the wiles of the devil. God arms for battle. In Isaiah, God puts on the armor. In Ephesians, believers put on God's armor. We're putting on God's armor. Do you have any recollection of what that means? If Jesus right now came down and said, here, let me give you this beautiful symbol. There's nothing written on it, but if you hold it in your hand, it's filled with my strength, my clarity, and my power. It's filled with everything you need to never be touched by the evil one, Satan, again. As long as you hold it. Wouldn't you probably get this embedded in your skin as a chip? You never want to be without it, right? The living God and Jesus are telling you the same thing. I'm giving you the same armor that God wore and put on himself way back in Isaiah in the Old Testament. Righteousness and salvation are protective. The breastplate and the helmet appear in both passages. Isaiah, for he put on the righteousness as a breastplate and a helmet of salvation upon his head. They're in both passages. The battle is moral and spiritual. Both passages deal with darkness, deception, and oppression. The difference Isaiah 59 shows God stepping into the battle because no man could fix the situation. Man can't fix it. Satan had connected and taken and put so many wrong belief systems in man of that day that nobody was of the, I can't say that a lot were no longer of the light. So Isaiah 59 shows that man could fix it, and God stepped in. And the living God put on the breastplate of righteousness and the helmet of salvation. So Isaiah shows man can't fix it. However, Ephesians shows believers stepping into the battle with the armor God already wore. So what's that saying? Now, in the New Testament, Jesus is here. Now, the believers in the Jesus, in the living God, in the Christ-like, can step into it. Remember this, and I've explained this before. Jesus is the living God come down to incarnate, embody as man to show us who we are. You get it? Pretty intense. So now, this is who you are. Now step into it. Ephesians 6 shows believers stepping into the battle with the armor of God already worn. Isaiah is the original story of the armor. Ephesians is commissioning of the armor. And it's commissioning to you. So together they form another complete picture, right? Isaiah shows the armor belongs to God. Ephesians shows God shares his armor with you. Isaiah shows God fighting when no one else can. Ephesians shows God training you to stand in his strength. Why? So you don't have to fight. Isaiah shows righteousness and salvation of God's own protection. Ephesians shows righteousness and salvation as your protection because you are in him. Big difference. We all seeing this? So now how does this fit with the message today, the God who arms you for battle? Isaiah 59 is one of the strongest foundations for this entire teaching. The armor is not symbolic. It's God's own battle gear. And what is it called? The armor of light. You're not fighting in your strength. You are clothed in the living God's strength. The living God arms you because he armed himself first. You're not improvising in the battle. You're wearing what wins. You are wearing the very thing that wins the battle. Jesus is the only one. The living God is the only one that beat Satan. Cast him out of heaven, right? Stops him all the time. Through the armor of light. Through the armor of light, which is the Christ light. And he has given that to you. And we could put it this way. God doesn't give you cheap armor. You can look at it as he gives you secondhand armor. The very armor he himself, the living God himself, herself wears. You don't fight alone. You don't fight, but you're in the equipment of the warrior God, the one who won all the battles. And it's not actual third level equipment, because it's not a third level war. It's a spiritual war. And you are taking the spirit of the living God and wearing it from the inside outside. And when that spirit is on the outside, everybody sees it, says, no, thank you. And you don't stand because you're strong. You don't stand in pride. You don't stand because it's right or wrong. You stand because his righteousness will always sustain you. Standing doesn't mean a battle. You can stand your entire life. You can stand for 50 years. Doesn't mean you're battling for 50 years. It means you're standing in the righteousness of the living God. You're taking a stand. And I'm going to put this in a very simple way that people can comprehend. Many of you have taken a stand against drugs. You will not touch drugs. You will not do ice, cocaine, any of that shit, heroin. Nope, will not do it. You took a stand against drugs. Drugs are all around you every day of your life. Many of you go to the supermarket or, Walmart or whatnot, and guess what? There's a drug deal happening right in the parking lot. You don't even know about it. How many of you have ever seen shoes hanging over a wire? That's the code for where drugs will be exchanged. That's where you can meet me. Not me, but that's that's where you can meet people. That's where you meet the dealer. And you do the exchange. It's around you all the time, but you're not in that world. You're not of that world. You're in the world of God and of the world of the living God. And so many people say, well, you're in this world, but you're not of it. Well, I disagree with that. I don't even think you're in this world unless you accept it. Because I am not in the drug world at all. And I am not of the drug world at all. It doesn't come anywhere near my world. And my world is my dominion. Therefore, it's the same with Jesus. You don't stand because you're strong. You stand because God, the living God's righteousness sustains you. Thessalonians 5:8. Thessalonians 5:8. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet and hope of salvation. Okay, let me read that again. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet, the hope of salvation. How does this connect to Ephesians 6:11 through 18? Paul uses the same language, but he shifts the emphasis from battle posture to inner formation. Ephesians 6 is about standing against the enemy, where 1 Thessalonians 5 is about who you are as a child of the day. So they both share the same themes. Identity as people of the day. Thessalonians, we are the day. Ephesians, stand against the wiles of the devil. The spiritual clothing. Thessalonians, breastplate, helmet. Ephesians, breastplate, helmet. Readiness, excuse me, readiness and sobriety. Thessalonians, be sober. Ephesians, stand therefore. The difference is the emphasis again. 1 Thessalonians 5:8 focuses on the inner life, faith, love, hope, and those are the three core virtues that stabilize the heart-mind connection. Ephesians focuses on spiritual warfare, truth, righteousness, salvation, faith, the word, and prayer. Thessalonians is the heart behind the armor. What was the other one? Romans was the identity. Thessalonians is the heart. See how it all plays together when you get to really look into it? Completing the picture again. Thessalonians shows the armor as a virtue. Faith, love, and hope shaping your inner world. That's a virtue. Where Ephesians shows the armor as equipment, truth, righteousness, salvation, protecting you in a battle. Thessalonian emphasizes again identity. We are of the day. Ephesians emphasizes resistance. Stand against the enemy. Resist it. You're taking a stand. You're not going to do it. Just like you take a stand, you're not going to do drugs. Thessalonians shows the armor forming your character, who you are, and Ephesians shows the armor defending your calling. So how does all this fit? And the God who arms you in battle? This verse reveals exactly how God just doesn't arm your exterior. He arms your interior. The breastplate is not only righteousness, it's faith and love. It protects your heart by shaping what fills it. You want your heart filled with faith and love. The helmet's not only salvation, it's the hope of salvation. God protects your mind by anchoring it in hope. Because remember, your mind has been programmed by Satan. The armor is not defensive, it's transformative. It transforms you. God, the living God, Jesus, arms you by forming the Christ strength within you, inside of you. So let's look at it this way. God just doesn't give you the armor to survive the battle. He forms the living God, Jesus, forms the kind of heart you need that can stand in the battle. The armor is not just metal. It's faith, hope, love, woven into your inner life. And I no longer use hope myself. For some still use hope, but eventually your hope will change to knowing. And when it changes to knowing, you're at peace. So you just don't put on the protection, you put on the character of Christ. You put on the Christ light. So this verse, Thessalonians, shows that the God who arms you for battle also stabilizes all your emotions, strengthens your faith, and anchors your mind first in hope, then in knowing. All right, so let's go. Let's do one or two more. Are we doing on time? Good. Yeah, we'll do a couple more. Let's see. Let's go. We did that, Corinthians. Let's do Psalm. Okay. I like Timothy too, though. Let's do them both. We can get them both in, Psalm and Timothy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Psalm 18:32 through 39. Give me a second. I need some water. Psalm 18:32 through 39. It is God that girdeth me with strength, and maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds. He maketh my feet like hinds, feet, and setteth me upon my high places. He teacheth my hands to war, so that the bow of steel is broken by mine arms. Thou hast also given me the shield of thy salvation, and thy right hand hath holdeth me up. I have pursued my enemies and overtaken them. Thou hast girded me with strength unto the battle. So how does Psalm 18:32 to 39 connect with Ephesians 6:11 to 18? David describes God as the one who strengthens, trains, equips, and sustains him in battle. Paul describes God as the one who arms, protects, and empowers believers in spiritual warfare. So what's the shared themes here? God is the source of strength, right? Psalms, God girdeth me with strength. Ephesians, be strong in the Lord. God provides the armor. Psalms, shield of salvation. Ephesians, shield of faith, helmet of salvation, shield of righteousness. God trains his people. Psalm, he teacheth my hands to war. Ephesians, stand against the wiles of the devil. God positions his people. Psalm, set me upon my high places. Ephesians, stand. Having done all to stand, withstand, stand. The difference again, let's go to the emphasis, is on the emphasis. Psalms 18 is personal, and David testifies to what God has done in his own battles, right? It's personal. Ephesians is instructional, and Paul teaches the church, which is the people, the believers, how to stand in spiritual warfare. There's the difference. Psalms 18 is the story of the warrior, and Ephesians 6 is the strategy of the warrior. So we want to be under the strategy of which we are. And together, again, forming the complete picture. Psalms 18 shows God training and empowering an individual warrior, right? And Ephesians shows God equipping the entire body of Christ. Psalms 18 shows God's strength in action. It's already a war that was done. Ephesians 6 shows God armor in action. Psalms 18 reveals the process, training, strengthening, positioning. Ephesians 6 reveals the equipment, truth, righteousness, salvation, faith, the word, and prayer. So Psalms 18 is the inner formation and outer victory. There was a victory. Ephesians 6 is the inner armor and the outer stance. Now you don't battle. You just take a stance. You take a stand. Psalms 18 is one of the clearest Old Testament revelations of a living God who personally trains, equips, and strengthens his people. In the Old Testament, there was war. Jesus came to show us we don't need war. War doesn't exist in our world. That's the world of Satan. We don't need war at all. We're not in that. We're not of that. We put on the spiritual armor. And we're removed. We take a stand, just like I took a stand against drugs, and maybe you took a stand against drugs or abortion or whatever it is that you don't like. You took a stand, and it doesn't enter into your world. No way, no how. Why? Because you won't allow it, because it is not who you are. I have never in my life even tried a drug. Even in high school and college, when they were passing the joints and stuff, I had every opportunity. No, thank you, not for me. I never wavered. I took a stand. This is not of me. Never touched alcohol. This is not of me. The same with many of you. You took a stand on something. Maybe for some of you, no way, not having an abortion. Maybe when everybody was giving you pressure, you took a stand. Whatever it was. You had the strength from within to take a stand. And you know why so many kids are falling into drugs and everything else? Because they don't even know about Jesus. They can't build the inner strength because they don't know about it. We know about it. So, going back, the Old Testament, God girtheth me with strength. He doesn't just give armor, he gives strength. Right? He teaches my hands to war. He doesn't just protect you, he trains you. He has given me the shield of thy salvation. He doesn't just save you, he shields you. Thy right hand holdeth me up. He doesn't just arm you, he sustains you. And thou hast girded me with strength unto the battle. He just doesn't send you, he prepares you. This is the heartbeat of the message. God who arms you in battle. He trains you, he strengthens you, he positions you, he sustains you, and you're not fighting for victory, you are fighting from his strength. So Psalms 18 again shows the warrior being formed, and Ephesians 6 shows the warrior being equipped. And the equipment of the New Testament, there is no more battles. It's a different battle. He arms you for battle. One enables you to stand, and everything goes whoosh around you, and you're not touched. The Old Testament, they went at it. This is the difference. And let's end with Timothy. I'm running out of time here. 2 Timothy 2, 3-4. 2 Timothy 2, 3-4. Thou therefore endures hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. No man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. What's he saying here? You endure hardship? You don't get entangled? You aim to please the one who enlisted you, right? So, Paul shifts from the armor imagery to the identity and mindset. Ephesians 6 tells you what to wear. 2 Timothy 2 tells you how to think. So, warfare identity. Timothy, a good soldier. Ephesians, put on the whole armor of God. Endurance. Timothy, endure hardship. Endure hardness. Ephesians, having done all, stand. Timothy, you've got to endure it first. Focus. Timothy, not entangled. Do not get entangled in the bullshit. Ephesians, stand against the wiles of the devil. Divine's calling, the calling of Jesus, the living God. Timothy, chosen him to be a soldier. Ephesians, be strong in the Lord. The difference is the emphasis again. Timothy, 2 Timothy, focuses on mindset, endurance, focus, loyalty, and discipline. Ephesians 6 focuses on equipment, truth, righteousness, salvation, faith, the word, and prayer. Timothy is the inner discipline of the warrior. Ephesians is the outer armor of the warrior. So, another complete picture here. Timothy shows the soldier's heart. Ephesians shows the soldier's armor. Timothy emphasizes endurance and focus. Ephesians emphasizes protection and readiness. Timothy calls you to avoid entanglement. Ephesians calls you to stand firm. The two passages both reveal that spiritual warfare is not only about resisting the enemy. Don't be entangled in it. It's about living with clarity. That's divine truth. Focus. What are you focusing on? To the Christ. Loyalty to the one who enlisted you. And who enlisted you? The living God, Jesus. How does this fit with today's message? The God who arms you for battle? This verse, Timothy, reveals the mindset God forms in those he arms. He's not going to give you armor if your mindset is to kill and hatred and fear. No. What's the mindset in Timothy? Endure hardness. God strengthens you to withstand the pressure without collapsing of everything going on. I have heard from a lot of people, oh my God, you should write a book of all the shit you've gone through. You know why I've gone through all that shit? God's strengthening me. Because what happens, just think of this for a minute, what happens if something in your life, somebody beat the living daylights out of you, and now a tiny little thing comes up. You go, I got this. This is nothing. Are you kidding me? This won't even faze me, right? You endured all the hardship, the hardness. You're prepared because now everything is like, please. A good soldier of Jesus Christ, God gives you the identity, not just the armor. You're a good soldier of Jesus. And my personal, my opinion, mine, not the divine's, mine, soldier means to shoulder, meaning you can take it all because you've got Jesus standing with you. No man that warreth entangle himself. God calls you to clarity, not distraction. God calls you to God's truth, the living God's truth, Jesus' truth, not the crap that's going on there. I don't give a flying turd what's going on in the world. I'm not of that world anymore. I don't want to be. I'm taking a stand. I'm not part of Satan's world. Get out of my face. Chosen him to be a soldier. God himself enlisted you. You didn't volunteer. And you didn't volunteer alone into this. You were chosen by the living God. You were chosen by the Christ. You were chosen by Jesus. You were chosen for a reason. And when it's right, your reason will be revealed for you. It's not going to be revealed until you're prepared. So, this is the internal alignment behind the armor. The armor protects you. The posture steadies you. The mindset focuses you. And the calling anchors you. You can put it like this if you want. God doesn't just arm you for battle. He trains your focus. The living God trains your focus. Jesus trains your focus, strengthens your endurance, and calls you into a soldier's clarity, the clarity of divine, a soldier chosen by Jesus, by the living God. So this verse, Timothy, gives this whole message its backbone. Discipline, loyalty, and spiritual focus. So when Paul finishes, going back to Ephesians, right? 6, the whole armor. When Paul finishes laying out the armor of God, he isn't just giving it to the church, which is the believers of Christ, right? The believers of Jesus. He's not giving them like a list to memorize or a formula to memorize. He's giving them a way to stand. It's a way of living in righteousness, a way of carrying themselves in the world. So we all fall victim to this. We really do. There are many times in the world, it could even be as simple as somebody cuts you off and you flip them the bird. You're not at peace. How many times have somebody cut you off and you were at peace and, Momo head, you just let it go. And then there are the times this is going on inside of you. I don't care what it was. You got a phone call, shit's hitting the fan. Your kids are going crazy. I don't care. Your brothers, your sisters, something is going on in your world. And someone will cut you off. No different than the last time. But what happens? You stupid idiot. I can't believe this. And you could be on the phone. You know, this SOB just got me. Flipping in the bird, raging. That's not the way to live because you're not in peace. When that happens, you don't have the spirit of the living God activated within you. So what Paul is giving them, it's a way to carry themselves in the world where spiritual pressure is real. The pressures from the outside is so real. And the more you sit with his words, the more you sit with this passage, the more you sit with all of this, the more you come to know that the armor is something you put on once. It's something that forms inside of you over time. That's what it means when it says Jesus is preparing you, living God is preparing you. He's building the strength in you. He's building the armor. It's forming inside of you. It becomes part of how you think. Oh, my friends, when I take a stand, I take a stand. Nothing's going to change me. No way, no how. Now I just got to take a stand against chocolate. Ugh. Haven't done that one yet. But when you take a stand, the courage inside of you was prepared. It becomes part of how you think, how you respond, how you speak, how you discern, how you move through the world. The divine truth settles first, not as a slogan or where are we going? None of that crap. It's more like a verse you quote when you're overwhelmed. But it's also a steadying presence inside of you. So like my verse that I quote all the time, Romans 8:2, I'm under the law of life. I don't want to be under the law of death, Satan. No way, no how. And when shit hits the fan, I stop and I think. I use the P. And I listen with my heart. Whose law am I under? Am I under the law of life or the law of death, which is Satan? Am I under Jesus' law or am I under Satan's law? Am I under the will of God or the will of Satan? If I'm in fear, if I'm screaming, if I'm yelling, if I'm having my self-pity party, which I do, I know whose law I'm under. And then I ask Jesus, do whatever you need to do to get me out of here. Even if I'm still having the pity party, remove me from Satan's law. So divine truth eventually will become a place where your thoughts land. Like I am sure none of you could ever think about slicing or dicing somebody, putting a knife to their throat. It's not who you are. You could never hurt a child. You would rather take death yourself, transition yourself, have the physical body be harmed yourself than ever harm a child. That's your stand. It becomes a way of life. It's where your thoughts land and everything else. When everything is chaotic, you know for a fact who you are. It's that big spiritual anchor that keeps you drifting, keeps you from drifting into the world of confusion. And when the divine truth holds inside of you, that's when you begin to notice what noise is and what's real. What's distraction and what's divine truth. And you begin to know when a thought pops up and you begin to know it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Satan. You just accepted it. And that divine truth, it becomes that quiet strength inside of you that nobody sees. It's not about proving anything to anybody. It's that quiet strength inside of you that keeps your inner world from unraveling. It keeps you standing firm. The righteousness begins to guard your heart. Not the kind of righteousness that makes you rigid or, blah, 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 egotistical, self-protective, but the kind that keeps your heart pure and clean and aligned with the divine, abiding in Jesus. The kind that keeps the shame the unworthiness and everything from settling in. And it's the kind of righteousness that keeps the old wounds from reopening. We all go through that one, right? And it's the righteousness that keeps condemnation from gaining a foothold on you. When righteousness truly, truly engulfs and fills your heart and covers it, and it's what your heart is, you stop living from a place of, I'm not good enough. Because I know for a fact, many of you, I did this myself for a long time. Many of you know Jesus, know God can do anything. But maybe not for you. Not true. It's that belief that keeps you from Jesus. Somewhere along the way, someone said something happened that made you think you weren't good enough. And now it's time to get rid of that. You are good enough. Jesus doesn't choose shit. You were chosen. He doesn't choose unworthy people. You were chosen. And when that righteousness fills your heart, you start living from a place, Jesus has made me whole in the remembrance of who I am. And that simple shift, hear this, I'm not good enough. These are the people, I'm sorry. These are the people who don't even try to attempt anything because they're not good enough. Whatever. I'm not good enough versus Jesus has made me whole in the Spirit of the living God. What a difference. And that shift changes everything. You stop fighting battles. Why? You stop fighting the battles because Jesus already won all the battles. The only battle you have to fight is the inner battle that tells you you are not who you are. God left an entire book to tell you who you are. And don't go around believing, oh, well, this book was left out, this book was left out, man left out. Are you kidding me? Do you not think God could get a book written? The living God could get a book written? Do you not think Jesus could get a book written? Enough of a book to tell you who you are? Of course. And that shift changes everything because you don't ever become perfect. Not why you've got 2 feet here. But because you truly, truly stop fighting the battles that Jesus already won. Jesus beat Satan. Why do you need to fight this battle? Then the peace that comes over you, it starts to shape your footing, your foundation. It doesn't remove all the shit that's out there. It steadies you. You stay in peace in the middle of all of it. Think of yourself as in a bubble. And you're in this bubble. And you can see all the shit going on around you. And nothing is affecting you. It gives you a way of walking and being without being frantic or reactive, right? And it's a way of movement that isn't controlled by the external world, by external pressures. Peace is like confidence of Jesus. Jesus is present. He's standing right next to you. Why do you need to worry? And when that peace settles inside of you, and you stop being thrown off balance by every little change that's happening in the world, oh, look, they're bombing. You begin to move with intention instead of impulse. And that's when you are prepared, and Jesus will start giving you what your intention, what your purpose is here. Your faith rises not as a moment of inspiration, but as a shield that grows stronger the more you use it inside of you. Faith then turns into a way of you respond to things that Satan throws at you and all his minions, the way they throw at you. Does it really matter anymore? It becomes the way you keep moving right on path. And the things that used to pierce into you through your armor, if you will, they don't anymore, because now you're truly wearing the armor of God. Then, after all that, okay, then salvation settles over your mind. The helmet. Not as doctrine. No. But as a covering. Salvation reminds you, the mind, that your identity in who you are is not up for debate anymore. It reminds you that your future is not fragile, and that your standing with God is not unstable. When salvation truly guards your mind, the enemy, Satan, loses his ability to define who you are. Loses the ability to tell you what to do. It keeps Satan from defining you. He loses the ability to name you. And people think, I'm not talking about a name like Leana or John or Mary. Angry dolphin. Naming you unworthy, not good enough, piece of poop. That's naming you. And he loses that power to do that. And Satan loses the power, the ability to pull you back into all the old patterns of thinking. The minute you start going in, let's say you had a bad divorce, the minute you start going into that, do you see what's going on? Your face was to Jesus. Your face is to divine righteousness. Your face is to the living God. And now you just did a 180 and your face is looking back into the satanic world that brought you to your knees and defined you as a loser, as somebody who can't get along, as somebody nobody loves, as somebody nobody wants. Whatever the case may be. Maybe your ex called you worthless, good for nothing, can't make a dollar, can't do this. That became your identity, whether you knew it or not. It's seeped in there into your heart. And it's not truth. And the more salvation settles over your mind, the word begins to sharpen with you. And the word, remember, we're going through this. Now we're up to, we had faith, salvation, we had peace, or was it righteousness, First was, let me go, truth, righteousness, peace, faith, salvation, now the word. The word begins to sharpen with you in the salvation, right? Not in a harsh way, but in a way that brings clarity, not the clarity of this world, divine clarity, divine truth, where everything is chaos and everything, you're entangled in this and you're in a mess. And then you start seeing the clarity. Oh my gosh, do I really want this one in my life who keeps taking and taking from me? They suck me dry every time they're around. You could have been friends with somebody for 50 years. And all of a sudden, there's clarity. What am I, a nut? The word becomes the voice that cuts through all the confusion. It's the light that reveals what's true. It becomes the strength that rises when you feel weak. And the more the word settles inside of you, the more you begin to know, to recognize, to see the difference between what God is saying and what everything else is saying. All those attached to this, Satan and his minions. And the beliefs of all those that have been equipped and accepted Satan and his minions' beliefs. You begin to see all that and recognize and go, wow, that's not of the living God. That's not of Jesus. That's of Satan. And you get to see how Satan, you start to recognize how Satan has put his little claws into so many people that you may love. And by keeping them around in your life, when you declaw yourself, if you will, by keeping the people who Satan still has his little claws into, that he can still control, he's getting to you. Because these are your loved ones that are doing this to you. And that's why you start seeing people fall away. Or you push them away. I'm done with you. I'm tired of the satanic energy you're bringing because you believe it. And then there's prayer. The last one's prayer. And finally prayer. It becomes the breath of the whole thing. Prayer keeps the inner world open. And I want you to look at prayer as Christ light. Because your prayer is to be the Christ light. To be the Spirit of the living God. To remember it, right? So the prayer it keeps your inner world open. It keeps your heart nice and soft. It keeps your spirit awake. Prayer keeps you connected to Jesus in a way that makes the whole armor of God more than imagery, more than imagine this, imagine that. It becomes a lived truth. And in this world, a lived reality. Prayer is where the strength settles, where the clarity comes in, the divine truth. Is where courage rises, right? And where the armor becomes part of you. And all of that is the Spirit of the living God, the Christ light. And this is the Spirit, the living God, who arms you for battle, doesn't leave you exposed, doesn't send you into anything unprepared, equips you with everything from the inside out so you can stand strong, gives you strength, everything, right? And the more you walk with him, the more you walk with Jesus, the more you come to know that the armor is not something you just reach for in a crisis. It's always with you. It's something that develops and forms and stays if you accept it and allow it. The more you stay close to Jesus, it becomes the way you live, the way you think, the way you respond, the way you carry yourself. No way am I doing anything, having anything to do with drugs. It becomes that. No way am I having anything to do with Satan or his beliefs or his untruths or all these stupid lies he keeps telling me. And I accept it as me. And when the day comes when all the shit's really hitting the fan and the pressure really starts rising, you're in a pressure cooker, and it will. You won't have to scramble. You won't panic. You won't have to worry if you're ready. You'll simply stand. Not because you're strong in yourself, but because the living God, Jesus, has steadied your heart. And it's not going to be because the battle's small, but because the one who has armed you and the faithfulness between the two will never break that bond. You have a covenant from the living God. And this is where this message, the God who arms you for battle, really lands solid. You're not unarmed. You're not unprepared. You're not uncovered. Jesus has fully equipped you intentionally, lovingly, purposefully, with strength, with everything you need to stand. So let's end this because it's 1 o'clock. Let me just close with this. When Paul wrote about the armor of God, he wasn't trying to make believers think of this dramatic thing. He wasn't trying to put that there's a constant conflict ahead of you. He's helping the believers to comprehend in a true knowing in your heart that God never leaves you unprepared, uncovered, gives you everything you need, equips you with everything. He never sends you into anything that you're unprepared for. And although you may be in it, and although you may be scared, you must step back, accept the armor, the light, and see the divine truth. It's not your battle. He arms you not with the kind of strength the world celebrates. None of that crap. But with the kind of strength that holds when life becomes really stressful and really heavy. And the more you walk with Jesus, the more you begin to see that this armor is something that you don't reach for in a crisis. It's who you are. It grows with you. But first, truth settles. Then righteousness begins to guard you, your heart. And you stop living from old wounds and old accusations. And then peace takes over. Peace that steadies your feet. It steadies the foundation of who you are. And you move through the world knowing the truth, the righteousness, and that peace. And then faith rises up, not as an emotion, but as that quiet confidence that Jesus is with you always. And nothing can touch you. And then salvation settles over your mind. And when salvation settles over your mind, the enemy loses. Satan loses the ability to name you. And you hold to the name that I am a child of the living God, one with Jesus, heir to the throne of the kingdom of God. And I am under the law of the living God. And I'm protected by Jesus. And then Satan can't name you because you know who you are. It's like someone coming up to me and saying, oh, you're a pothead. And I'm like, okay. Oh, you're ugly. Okay. Oh, you're fat. Okay. Oh, you're skinny. Okay. You can't name me any of these things. Oh, you're old. You're wrinkled. You're, I don't know. You're this, you're that. Okay. Have a nice day. I'm a child of the air of the Lord, and God doesn't make shit. Shh, Sammy. So when the day comes, oh, I forgot prayer. Oh, I'm hearing you forgot prayer. And somewhere in the middle of all this, prayer becomes the breath of your life. Right? The place where everything carries you. And the place where you meet the one who carries you, which is Jesus, the Christ light. Christ in your heart opens. Christ keeps your spirit awake. The prayer, the Christ light keeps your inner world aligned with Jesus. And as that happens, you begin to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. You go from hope to knowing that you're not standing in your own strength. You're standing in the strength of Jesus, the King, the living God. So when the day comes, when the shit hits the fan, and it will, you think you haven't even got close yet. You'll never have to scramble. You're not going to wonder if you're ready. You won't have to reach for something that you don't have. You'll simply just stand. Not because the battle's going to be strong. I guarantee you it's not. It's going to be a big one. But because Jesus has armed you with everything you need. And it's not because you're going to be strong. Because you're not. You're going to have Jesus' strength. And his strength is inside of you. And not because you're perfect or untouched by all the crap in this life, but because you're held by the one who equips you, the one who chose you. And that's where we're going to end. You're not unarmed. You're not standing out there with no protection. You're not walking into anything alone. Jesus has completely and totally prepared you fully, intentionally, purposefully, lovingly. For what? To stand in the light of the living God. Capiche? Capiche. All right. So does this all sink in and make sense to you? Joan says, would you please clarify, do we put the armor once or every day? Joan, the armor builds up inside of you, and once it's completed, it's there. It doesn't go away. It's not a daily thing. I'm going to share something with you. I was working with a friend of mine because of my back issue and the things that I experienced myself. And mainly because I push myself too hard and don't take enough time for my tempo, my doing. And I'm being prepared to know the difference. And as this individual was working on me, assisting me, saw the Christ light far away and brought the Christ light closer because I wasn't coming from the inside. When you're praying the way we were taught to pray in Satan's world, right? God help me. God is outside and you're begging to come and help you. But when you know who you are and you stand in the Christ light and you have the full armor and you're prepared, it comes from the inside out. And if I blast Christ light from inside out so the world can see it, is my whole physicality, emotional, and mental being in light, in Christ light? Yep. See the difference? So you don't pray, oh, stop the end of the war. No, it's not your decision or your place to cross dominion and tell God what's right or wrong. But what you do is you ask to illuminate, to be the Christ light, to shine it so bright, to abide in Jesus, and to wear the armor of God. And then you start seeing divine truth. And you start seeing, wow, all this is a big, crazy fraud thing. And I'm going to ask you a favor here, peeps. Okay? Don't go away yet. And I'm just going to ask this fast. And I know, Grady, we prepared, but we didn't. If you really enjoy this, what I'm doing, we're going to ask you to make a contribution.
I would like to echo what Leana has just said. If you were uplifted and or enlightened by today's webinar, and you appreciate the time and effort that goes into producing this, and if you would like for it to continue, we really do encourage you to consider making a contribution to address the rising costs of operations and online security that we're experiencing right now. The Bible teaches that giving financially supports the work of the ministry. It strengthens the house of God, and it blesses each and every one of us, and especially the giver. Now, this is not about pressuring you. Rather, it's about presenting the opportunity for partnership in a different way. So please just visit the main page at powerpassionfreedom.com and select the contribution button, or if you're not a member yet, sign up for just $12 a month. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to having you join us again.
So, very graciously done. I appreciate it, Grady. I guess that's about it.
Hi, I'm Leana from PowerPassionFreedom.com. If you liked what you heard, why don't you come and join us on Sundays? We do a whole free question and answer period followed by a meditation. Bring all your questions. All you have to do is go to PowerPassionFreedom.com to register for Sunday. Oh, and don't forget to like us and subscribe to us below, because we're always adding new meditations and content, and you don't want to miss out on it. I'll see you Sunday.